UFC 309 is coming up this Saturday, and it seems like the only fight that people care about is the people's main event, the co-main event, the rematch between Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. Michael Chandler coming back after a 2-year layoff. You know, the odds are kind of stacked against him. He's 38 years old, already kind of a chinny guy. Yes, he's on the sauce. Yes, he's in shape. I don't know how much that'll help him in this fight. But yeah, I am worried for Charles Oliveira, and I will be breaking down the entire fight. But getting into it, the reason why I'm so worried for Charles Oliveira is I think we could all agree this fight is not going 5 rounds, so no one's going to win a decision. Likely, it could happen. Chandler obviously is not submitting Charles Oliveira, so if he wins, it's going to be by a brutal knockout. And Oliveira is the type of guy where if he gets knocked out, he's not going to be on the front foot in his next fight. He's going to be on the back foot, and we're going to see he's a streaky guy, let's be real. We're going to see a losing streak from him. We're going to see him lose against Rafael Fiziev, Gamrot, maybe loses the rematch to Poirier. He starts losing some of his already good wins, which is what's going to happen here. I don't get why he didn't take the Gamrot fight. That would be an easy win for him. And he could have won that months ago, but instead he'd rather risk one of his best wins where if he loses, people may be calling the first fight a fluke. And he's already a guy where, let's be real, this may be a hot take. Charles Oliveira does not have a great resume by any means. His title wins are good, but they're not great. And Michael Chandler, he loses one of his best career wins. And then he's 1-1, and they have a clean slate. It doesn't matter. That's why I'm also worried, because I'm a big Oliveira fan. And I'm telling you right now, if Oliveira loses this fight, and I see him out cold Tony Ferguson style, and Michael Chandler is doing backflips over his unconscious body, my laptop, it's going across my room. I'm not watching the main event, and I'm not breaking down the fight. This really could be a bad night for me, for a lot of people. And I am worried because a lot of people, Oliveira, he's a big favorite, which is the first time in his career that he's a favorite like this in a long time. I think 5 out of his last 7 fights, he's been the underdog. And this is the first time he's like minus 240. Last time he was like +1, almost a 2-1 underdog. Over a 2-1 underdog. Which, yes, he lost. I don't care that he lost against Arman. Those odds were atrocious. He almost won the fight. That was his fight to lose. And he arguably won. But going on. Michael Chandler, again, he's 38. He's chinny. And the odds are definitely stacked against him. Michael Chandler in the first round, second round, he always has a chance. He's one of the most explosive fighters in the UFC. But I did watch the tape for this fight. I watched, obviously, their first fight. Pretty much all their last, I feel like, 10 fights. I rewatched the fight, Arman Oliveira at UFC 300, and I was not impressed. I was impressed by Arman, his grappling. Oliveira, we all know, wins the first round. I don't need to break that down. The second round, 14 seconds in, he tags Arman with a big right. Arman eats it, but he is slightly hurt because for the first time he's on the back foot. He's backing up for a good 20 seconds. And what does Oliveira do? He just stares at him. He's just taking pictures. Yes, I know Arman is probably going to shoot because he's hurt. But man, you hurt him immediately. And he just stares at him. He has him on his bicycle backing up against the cage. And you do nothing for 20 seconds. Oliveira, the Lion, just was not there. Yes, he didn't quit. Yes, he was going for the finish towards the end. He didn't give up. But man, he just did not let his hands go. And he always does this. Actually, no, that's not true. Because now that I think about it, he actually let his hands go against Islam in the first round. And a little bit in the second round, not really. He actually was on the back foot and he wasn't really throwing that much. But against Islam, he wasn't setting up any of his punches. Yes, he's always aggressive, but he wasn't setting up any of his kicks. He was throwing naked kicks, naked punches. It was one of the worst performances of his career. And I don't care that he lost. I know he could have done better. I know that that wasn't the best version of Oliveira. Which, speaking of the best version of Oliveira, I think it was against Dustin Poirier. And I think that a lot can be used similar weapons against a guy like Michael Chandler. Knees to the body. He was throwing brutal knees to the body. Dustin Poirier is a guy known for his gas tank. He was gassed in the second round. And imagine if he does that to Michael Chandler, how bad he's going to gas. Knees to the body, elbows on the ground. I think when Michael Chandler comes in, I want to see Oliveira throw that elbow. I want to see him catch him, counter him. There's a lot of other things he could do. I want him to use all of his weapons, which I feel like he really hasn't. The head kick is going to be there as well against a shorter guy. Obviously, I get why he didn't use the knees against Islam. Islam knees him to the body. Oliveira knees him back, perfectly times him, throws him down. Beautiful exchange by Islam Makhachev. But the reason I bring that up is because a guy like Michael Chandler, that's not going to happen. That's not really a threat against a guy like Michael Chandler. I get sort of why he didn't do it against Arman. I understand he did do it against Islam, didn't work out. Maybe that's why he's kind of stopped using them. But against a guy like Michael Chandler, this will work. This is going to work. You have to throw it. Much different opponent than Islam Makhachev. But how I see the actual fight going and my actual breakdown for both sides, for Michael Chandler, I'm going to keep it short and sweet because he doesn't follow game plans. He's low IQ. We saw it in the Poirier fight. We saw it especially in that Justin Gaethje fight. It was so upsetting because I was rooting for Michael Chandler in that fight. And it's 1-1, third round. He's doing good at the beginning of the third round. It's a close round. And he decides to let himself get hit and just showboat and show how tough he is, and he loses the fight because of it. Just one of the lowest IQ fighters on the roster. We could all agree on that. He finds ways to lose. Never pick Michael Chandler ever, which, I may be doing, but regardless, or not. I do think Michael Chandler, his way to win, first round knockout, I think we could all agree, maybe second round, something explosive. He has to stay on the front foot. Oliveira doesn't do as good when he's on the front foot or on the back foot. He has to push him against the fence. He has to land that right hand, something explosive. That's what a guy like Michael Chandler needs to do. I don't think he's going to have the same success as an Arman Saruki in wrestling because I don't think that he has the same submission defense, which is evident, which we've seen that against a guy like Dustin Poirier. So yeah, especially later in the fight. And he has to finish Oliveira on the ground. He's going to gas himself out if he does that for 5 rounds. He cannot do that for 5 rounds and keep on shooting takedowns. He's just not going to have success. He's going to gas himself out. So I don't think that that's the right game plan. I think it should stay on the feet if I'm Michael Chandler. But yeah, that's how I see it going for him. For a guy like Charles Oliveira, there's a lot more to break down. So the game plan I want to see is we're going to have a sitting duck game plan, right? We're going to make him a sitting duck. We're going to throw leg kicks. Michael Chandler, he does not check. He doesn't really check anything, but he does not check leg kicks. We saw it in the Gaethje fight. After that first round, his movement was super compromised, and he was way easier to hit in the second round. I want to see Oliveira have more investment shots, throw the leg kick, take him off of his feet, elbows when Chandler blitzes in. I want to see knees to the body, gas Chandler out, body shots, jabs to the body. That's what I want to see. Even throw the head kick. Even if he blocks it, it's going to hit his arms. It's going to make him slower. Those investment shots are going to be key for Oliveira. He also could just finish him in the first round. So there's that, This fight really could go either way. I have no clue how it's going to go. Another thing that I see a weakness in Michael Chandler. So if you recall, in Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje, again, both of these guys have a lot of similar opponents. In that fight, how he got Gaethje to the ground, he didn't take him down, he didn't trip him. They both had an exchange. They went into the clinch, which again, the clinch is going to be key in this fight for Charles Oliveira. They both have an exchange, and Gaethje pulls out. He's like, okay, that's the end. Charles Oliveira says, I have one more thing for you. And when Gaethje thinks it's all over, Oliveira throws the right hand, lands it, puts him down. And right here, you could see it's very similar. So Michael Chandler, he throws a lot of long combinations. And towards the end of those combos, he usually gets caught. or he gets close to getting caught. Because, like you see here, hands completely down, and he thinks that it's over. He thinks that the exchange is over. He's going to back up. He's going to reset. That's when Oliveira needs to let his hands go. His chin is wide up in the air for the taking. I guess so is Oliveira's, but still, that is going to be key. I think that's another way that he could win. Again, he could win off the front foot. I don't like him so much on the back foot. Yes, he could counter him off of the blitz. That is true. But Chandler is dangerous off of the front foot. You see here, he catches Oliveira, tags him. Oliveira says, okay, I'm done with this. I'm shooting. And Michael Chandler pulls guillotine, which is kind of shocking because you'd think Michael Chandler would shoot. And then Oliveira pulls a guillotine. I think Chandler, I don't think he's going to have, it would be great for him to push him completely against the fence and shoot a takedown if that's his plan. Kind of like how he did against Dustin Poirier. Because if that's the plan, the guillotine is right there to be taken. Oliveira has an elite guillotine. Michael Chandler is the type of guy to tap to a guillotine, unlike Arman Sarukian. It's another way for Oliveira to win. In this exchange, we see he has his back. One of the worst positions Chandler could be in, but it's the first round for Michael Chandler. So 5 seconds later, he somehow gets out of it, explodes out. He's on top. Oliveira could also have the game plan of he shoots when Oliveira or Chandler explodes or overthrows, and then he is very good on top, very strong, tries to keep Chandler down, elbows to the body, elbows to the face, cut him open, and kind of gas himself out or gas, Michael Chandler out. I could also see that. Again, there's a lot of ways for Oliveira to win, a lot of ways. I don't think that usually there is a ton of grappling exchanges with an Oliveira fight, even though he doesn't shoot a lot of takedowns. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I could see a submission or a world where, kind of like the Islam fight, where Oliveira is dropped or he drops Chandler and then jumps on the submission. I could see that happening. I don't know if that's likely, to be honest, because I feel like he's just going to go in finish mode. He's going to go for the TKO unless he wants the submission. But how I see this fight actually happening, my full fight, not my full card, my main co-main event prediction. So I am worried for this fight, but I am going to go with Charles Oliveira in a second round TKO, the same exact fashion he won last time. Really, I could see any round, any path to victory. I just think Michael Chandler is going to be, he's still very chinny, so is Oliveira. But when Chandler gets hurt, he usually gets finished unless it's at the bell. But I do feel like Oliveira is going to be able to find the shot. I think he loses the first round, and I think he wins the second round. I'm going to say a late second round TKO. I think it's probably going to be the left hand again. I think he's going to make Chandler a sitting duck. Chandler's movement is going to be compromised. He's going to be a little bit gassed. And Oliveira is going to find the shot. Maybe probably against the fence. That's probably my final prediction. Let me know what you think. If you're picking Oliveira, let me know when and how you're picking him. If you're confident at all. If you're picking Chandler, same thing, same question. But yeah, that's the breakdown. That's what I think's going to happen. That's Oliveira's, way to win, his ways to win. But yeah, that is it for me.